You and your party enter a forest, and you see a large creature hunched over, feasting on an animal. It turns to look at you with its black beady eyes, and then it attacks. Long claws flailing about. You fight for some time, and you notice that its wounds begin to regenerate. What do you do? If you already know what this creature is, please comment down below. Otherwise, we will get straight into the video. Hello there, and welcome to Dungeons & Dragons Explained, where we'll be exploring all things D&D and RPGs. On this channel, I'll be putting up videos explaining monster lore and game rules, as well as videos explaining how to play the game just like this one. Today, we'll be talking about metagaming and why you should do it sometimes. I know it is a controversial subject, but bear with me and we'll jump straight into the video. So first, a quick intro on what metagaming is and why people say it's bad. Metagaming is basically using information outside of what your character should realistically know, and most people say it's bad because it tends to break immersion, and sometimes it can really ruin an encounter that your DM has spent a lot of time putting together. Examples of what metagaming might be is if you run into a lich or a dragon or any high-level monster as a low-level character and seem to know what it does and its abilities and start playing around that. And yes, the example I used at the beginning of the video was a troll. It is very common for a DM to throw a troll at some low-level characters, and if you've played the game before, you probably know what a troll does, and when you're presented with this situation, I like to call it the troll dilemma. So you've probably encountered this scenario as well, where a DM has thrown a troll at a bunch of low-level characters. However, those low-level characters are played by very experienced players who all know what a troll does. Immediately somebody says, go grab a torch, they hit it with fire, it stops regenerating, and then all of a sudden the encounter is over. Now, the troll is quite deadly on its own, but without its regeneration, it is mostly just a sack of hit points with some nasty claws attached. Experienced players will have no problem getting through this, or if they know they can't, they will just run away. However, this doesn't make for some very exciting gameplay, especially when you have a mix of new and experienced players. You may want to give those new players the joy of going through and discovering what it is that stops a troll's regeneration. So what do you do in this scenario, or even the scenario where there's only experienced players? So you could start using your knowledge straight away, grab a torch, stop the troll's regeneration, but as we said, this is metagaming and most people don't appreciate it. Or you could pretend like you don't know anything and let the new players work it out themselves. This is generally favorable as you get to have fun watching the new players struggle and everybody else gets to experience their first troll. So what happens if the new players can't work it out and all the experienced players are pretending not to know anything? This could quickly lead to a situation of a total party wipe, especially if it's low levels, in which case everybody has to make up new characters, and that's not very fun if it happens on your first session. So what you could do instead, and this is what I encourage, is paying the roleplay cost. What does it mean to pay the roleplay cost? It means if you know something out of character and it isn't presented to you in character, you might need to do a little bit of role-playing and pay a bit of a cost to figure that out. In the example of the troll dilemma, you might wait until it hits 0 hit points and starts regenerating from there before you even begin to experiment. And even when you start experimenting, you might want to try a few more obvious solutions like cutting off its head before you go and reach for the torches. What this means is you have now paid the roleplay cost to bring that out of character information into character. Now that can result in consequences like putting yourself in a more dangerous situation or wasting a few spell slots that you may not have needed to waste, but that creates drama and it also lets the DM know that you're not just going to start pulling information out of nowhere to beat their encounters. Now, the troll dilemma is one of the most common scenarios that you will encounter in your D&D career. Let me know if you've encountered it yourself already, but there are other examples as well. I will use one that my friend told me about in a game that he's played in recently. My friend was playing in a game where he and his party were investigating a town where there were some strange happenings with the NPCs. They figured out that it might be mind control pretty early on, and my friend went to investigate by himself. Now, in the party, there was also a paladin who possessed the Protection from Evil spell. This was in 3.5 edition. And the Protection from Evil spell, among other things, will suppress the effects of any mind control, charm, or possession by an evil creature. So you could see how useful this would be, but because the player was there when my friend had gone off and gotten himself mind control, he didn't want to metagame by using that spell. Now, to his credit, not metagaming is a valiant trait in a player, but because he refused to cast that spell, there was no further information about what was going on, and the session quickly fizzled to a close with not much else happening. Yes, the DM might have put some more information in there once this had happened, but it should have been a very easy scenario if he had simply paid the roleplay cost. Funnily enough, he did actually cast some other spells like Dispel Magic and Remove Curse, but it was just the one spell he knew would work that he didn't want to cast. So he actually did pay the roleplay cost, he just didn't follow through and use the actual solution. So there you have it. To summarize, metagaming is using information outside of what your character would reasonably know. It's bad because it breaks immersion and typically discourages playing in character. However, there will be plenty of scenarios where it is okay to metagame, especially if it's going to move the story forward, as long as you have paid the roleplay cost. So thank you for watching the first video on D&D Explained. This will be the first of many, including others about monster lore and game rules and how to play the game. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will see what I can do about making some videos for them. So, as a player, have you ever found yourself in a troll dilemma type scenario where you should have just paid the roleplay cost? And as a DM, have you ever found yourself wishing your players would just metagame to get through this encounter? Leave it in the comments below if you have, otherwise I will see you guys next time.